All you got to do is just come to the Being Left Should Hurt Facebook group at Showtime, 9:30 on Thursdays. It's 9:30 Eastern. Hit refresh. We're a couple minutes behind, but we got some people coming on. So as you're coming on, if you can hear us okay, you can see us okay, give us a comment, say hello. Really excited to have everyone here tonight.
So happy Thursday. It's always so fun to see everybody on Thursdays. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie McPhail. I'm the expert in helping brilliant women date up. This is my husband, David.
There you go.
He gets to help. We're a team. We get to help each other, help others, and actually help support them in creating their best lives. So we're really excited to come on tonight. We love seeing you every Thursday, but we're really excited to come on tonight and introduce you to a former client of ours. So, buckle in and be ready to ask questions too. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them during the live. If we don't get to answer them during the live, we will go back and answer them later. If you are watching this as a replay, then please make sure that you still ask the questions as if you were watching it live. And if there's a question that you'd like for me in particular to answer, or David to answer, or even Elsa to answer, just make sure that you tag us so that we know that you're asking the question. So it looks like you can hear us okay.
Yeah, for sure. And this is really fun too. We try to keep a varied structure for our lives, right? Educational, Q&A, really topical. And we pay a lot of attention to the stuff that you guys are all struggling the most with. And most of it is stuff that we've all been through. Mm-hmm. The cool thing about something like tonight is we get to bring on one of our rock stars, one of our former Inner Circle members, who's become a dear friend and really just has accomplished some amazing things. And the reason I think this is great personally is because it's wonderful to join the group, begin to get some knowledge and understanding. But when a lot of us are in or have come from a place where so many things, relationships for starters, are a real struggle, and our lives have been going wrong for so long, even when we feel at our best in those times, we still kind of wonder, can things get any better? So I think our special guest story tonight is really going to resonate with a lot of you. So we're excited to share that and hopefully impart upon you that it doesn't matter where you are or how long things have been difficult for you. With a few quick, simple shifts, it can make all the difference and really set you free to create the life that you've dreamed of.
So let's do a little drum roll and let's make a big can't even talk. I'm so excited. I can't even talk. Let's have a giant drum roll for Elsa. Let's welcome Elsa. Woo! Lots of diving in already. Our regulars are like, let's dive in. Let's meet Elsa.
Good. Awesome.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be with you tonight.
Really excited to have you too, Elsa. It's been a little while since we've connected, but it's always great to see you. And of course, we have the joy of being able to witness your life, this adventure you're living now, albeit on Facebook, right? We haven't had a chance to meet in person yet, maybe sometime before long.
Yeah.
But yeah, really grateful to have you here and to share your story. I think it's going to be a really powerful lesson and inspiration for a lot of our people here.
So I'm seeing a lot of people say, hi, Elsa, hello, they're ready to dive in.
A lot of people showing the love. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
I would have been a different person a year ago. I'll tell you that much.
And what a difference a year makes, right?
Yeah. And that's what I think is going to be like so exciting, because when I think about where you were just from the outside and where I get to see you now, like it's so exciting. So tell us, like, what was going on for you before you met David and I and joined the Inner Circle and all that kind of stuff? Give us a little snapshot of what life was like for you back then.
Well, back then I was just getting out of a 10-year relationship with what I honestly, from doing my research and doing this program, what I believed was with a narcissistic relationship. And if any of you are going through that or are familiar with that, you understand that it's not like trying to get over a normal relationship with someone who is healthy. It's a whole other ball of wax and a whole different way of healing. And so I had just found out after 10 years of doing back and forth with this person. And, I always say I was COVID single. We were forced to quarantine and hunker down and be around each other for 24 hours a day. And it's something that I had never done before with this person. So you get to really get to know one another. And things just started really going bad, worse than anything I ever thought, even though, our relationship had always been tumultuous in the past. And I had always figured, it's toxic, it, gets a little unhealthy, but never in a million years would I have found myself calling it abuse. Um, because, you know, like they say, you don't know what you don't know. And my background growing up the way that I had, to me, it's like that's just what relationships are, especially long-term relationships. You know, you have your ups and downs and you just roll with the punches. You know, it is what it is. But I had just found out that he was living a completely double life and he had been doing it for our whole relationship. And although I had known some things that were going on, I just had no idea that it was as bad as all the truth that I discovered after the fact. And up to that point, he had been in a relationship with someone else for a whole year up to that point. And the way that I found out, even though I kind of had my suspicions, but I could never find the proof to pinpoint it, the other woman actually contacted me um, on their 1 year anniversary of all things to try to figure out who the heck I really was because he had told her a whole completely other story. And mind you, we had made plans that we were going to get married that year. We had just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. Um, you know, and I was kind of over the relationship, kind of still hopeful, kind of, you know, just not really sure what to do, kind of just throwing in the white flag, how you say, and just kind of resolve myself to this is how my life was going to be with this person for better, for worse, or for keeps. And so when I met David and Stephanie, I still don't really know how I met them. I must have just done some Facebook search on Facebook groups or something because actually this group was the first group I had ever been a part of on Facebook. And I don't know if you see things that come up on your feed about relationships and this and that. So I don't know how it came to be, but I found it. And, or I don't know if someone else told me about it. I don't remember. And so I remember I just like joined the group and I, was watching the lives and stuff like that, watching people post things. And it just kind of made me think like, it's like something definitely needs to change here. I mean, I was completely devastated at the time when everything came out because it was a really hard blow to know that the life that you had envisioned with this person and the life that you've had with this person or this person themselves is like you don't even know this person. It's like, well, who the hell am I with? Like who I've been living with, spending my time with for the last 10 years. And it was very devastating. I like when I say I was like a walking corpse, a walking zombie, I really was. I was completely void of any, maybe I was in shock. Um, I was just in a very sad and desperate state. I mean, I just felt comatose. Like I didn't know what to feel. I honestly, I always describe like when I met David and Stephanie, I just felt like I was like walking out of the twilight zone, just going like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, and not knowing like what, like you're trying to make sense of things that don't even make sense. You're just like, how did I not know? When, like, how did you have the time? Like, so many questions and so many layers and layers and layers and layers of lies that I had to go through. And that's like when I honestly say, and I always say, the pain that you feel or the confusion and everything, that it's just a big clusterfuck, and excuse the language, but there is no other way to explain that type of deceit and betrayal and everything that you thought your life was. And honestly, it was just like I had no idea what to do or where to go or how to start or anything. I was just like, I don't know. It's like something has to change.
Well, it can definitely be a big blow when you're dealing both with the betrayal and then obviously, like you described, all that self-doubt because you're smart, you're intuitive,
Right.
you're into people, you're good at connecting. And again, we didn't know you prior to coming into the group, but it's so true for a lot of people, even us. Like you when you find out that the life you've been living, the relationship you've been in is a lie, you begin to question yourself. So I know there can be a lot of that confusion and self-doubt, which just makes things
well, and grief is so huge because you had this idea he was going to be the man you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and now you're grieving the potential of the rest of your life with this man.
And then honestly, it's grief beyond anything I've ever felt because it's not even so much that you're grieving for that person. Because a part of me, I was just kind of felt like this huge weight had been lifting off my shoulders. Like, okay, finally I can get out of this, because I had felt stuck for so many years, doing the back and forth, and I'd break up with him and then I'd get back with him, and the love bombing, and if anybody who's been in the cycle of narcissistic abuse, you understand that, you go through the idealization, the love bombing phase, and the devalue, the discard, and it's just this crazy roller coaster over and over again. And by that point, I think I was so over it, but I just didn't know how to get out. And I was so defeated that I just didn't really have the fight in me anymore to get like the authorities involved, or to get family involved, or to even like really seek out any type of help, because I was just so up to here with all the drama, and just completely and emotionally, mentally just exhausted. So for me, it was just basically trying to get through the day every day and just come home to like a peaceful house and not have to deal with the drama. So a part of me, like when something just snapped in me when I found out that he had cheated to me, that was like my open door, like just get him out of my house. Like something just like ignited a fire inside of me to have that power to get him out. And honestly, I think it was because I thought that if I didn't do this now, and just in all transparency, it's either one of us is going to be dead and one of us is going to be in jail.
Mhm.
Because I mean, if you've ever been in a situation like that, especially when you confront that person and they are lying to you in your face, that even adds insult to injury. Like he didn't even know that me and this girl had talked, and that she had sent me the screenshots and she sent me the photos. There was no way that he could talk himself out of this. And he didn't know that at the time. But for him to still sit there and get in my face and lie to me and tell me that he swore on his dead mother, on his dead grandmother's grave, who was like his basically his mom, and he loved her to death, and to look me in the eye and say, it's a lie, I would never cheat on you, and this and that. I mean, that was just further insult to injury. Like, wow, you really think I'm that fucking stupid? Um, and I think by the grace of God is just, that none of that happened, thank God. But definitely like the aftermath and the repercussions, like when I say that just to breathe was exhausting and debilitated, and that I couldn't do anything else in my life but to lay on a couch for 2 months, hurting to just breathe, and just trying to make sense of everything that had just transpired, and also trying to make sense of my life for the last 10 years.
Mhm.
It was a
Yeah.
very difficult thing to go through.
And also, look, we wouldn't wish it on you or any of the people that we cross paths with, because we know the real effect of that pain. And look, it's sad to say, but sometimes, and I can attest to this in my own life because it's happened a bunch of times. Sometimes you got to hit bottom before you get the message and begin to build that momentum. And again, we know there's I'm bringing it up. There's plenty of stories in today's news about people who hit bottom and didn't get back up. And it's so unfortunate. It's part of what drives our passion to help people find their true power. And again, I wouldn't wish it on you, but at the same time, I look back at my own personal hell and think, were it not for that, I wouldn't have been able to reach the heights that I'm at now. Do you feel like that's relevant for you at all? Or?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that when you look at a situation, and as much as it hurts and as painful as it is, when you can step back and reflect, and at some point in time give thanks and be grateful for that experience, because without it, you wouldn't be the person who you are, or I wouldn't have been I wouldn't be the person who I am now, and I wouldn't have the skills that I have now, and I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now. And that's why I agreed to come on and do this live, because more than anything, being educated and having the tools to empower somebody, especially going out of a situation like this, is so imperative. Because if you don't, you're always going to stay in that victim mentality and that victimhood, and you're always going to feel victimized, and that's a sad place to be, because yes, horrible things can happen, but we need to rise up and triumph and overcome that, so that you don't stay a victim. And me, I refuse to stay a victim. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat and say that I was not victimized, but I refuse to give my power to that person any longer and stay a victim. So I was willing to do anything in my power to empower myself, to get the tools, to do the healing, to do the ugly work, to do the hard work. And you know what, people? To take the accountability. because we can't sit there and blame everything on that person who did us wrong. You have to sit there and own your shit and understand, I allowed these things to happen. Okay, but now let's work on, why did I allow those things to happen? Or why did I keep allowing those things to happen, when instinctively or at a gut level, a cellular level, you know it's not right. But why did you keep staying? Why did you keep accepting? Why, because they say what you allow is what will continue. And it all starts with you. So if you want to change, it starts with you, and you got to own it. You got to own your part in all of this. Otherwise, you're always going to stay a victim, and you're going to have that victim mentality. And it's always going to be like, oh, well, woe is me. And honestly, people get tired of hearing your victim story. And I don't want my story to be a story of victimhood. I want my story. There's this meme that I put up, and it says, every time you share your story in an empowering way, not only do you heal yourselves, but quite possibly you also help heal those people who you share your story with. And that's why I'm here sharing my story with all of you, because my hope for all of you is, one, to give you hope, to let you know that change is possible. And not only will you be a survivor, but you can be a thriver, because nobody just wants to be a survivor. You want to be able to move on with your life and live your best life to your best ability, and get rid of all that negative energy and just be who you want to be. That person, if you're meant to be a person of love or whatever, kindness, whatever, just, and to also impart that gift to someone else. Because honestly, if it wasn't for me meeting Stephanie and David, and Stephanie sharing her story and with her workbook and all of that, then maybe I wouldn't be here. But it was that hope that, okay, I saw so much of me in her story, in her personal story, and I was like, she's been through it. She knows what this is about. She knows what she's talking about. And, and that made all the difference for me, because there's a lot of different life coaches, but for me, it was very important that I connected with someone who understood my situation, which was narcissistic relationships and abuse. And that's how I ended up here.
And I just want to say real quick, just so everybody knows, we didn't groom Elsa to come up with these absolute gems.
Yes.
I hope you guys are leaning in and listening, because first of all, I want to say I really admired Elsa. There are a couple really important lessons here, not the least of which is the fact that she decided, even though she didn't know how she was going to go through this and come out on the other side, she decided to take a chance on herself and put trust in it and do the work. And that's why, we say we provide the guidance, support, and tools based on our experience in our own personal lives and having transformed our life into one that we've dreamt of, and obviously countless clients for years around the world. But the common factor in our most successful inner circle members is the people who realize, like, okay, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And I just think, Elsa, that your story is so inspiring. I hope everyone's really paying attention. And the other piece I'll add on real quick is that, and you sort of answered our next question, like, why did you decide to work with us? We always recommend that you get guidance and help, support from somebody who's been where you're at and who is where you want to be. But that key piece, that subtle nuance, right, of being able to vibe with them, to have that sense of connection, that sense of understanding. And again, this is Steph's story. She's the queen bee. She wrote the book. Like, I went through my own shit, but like, Elsa, what you're describing, having been able to resonate and relate to Stephanie's story, and how all these pieces came together to get you to take action. I just think that's so powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, and I want to add too, and for anybody watching, Elsa's a strong, independent woman. Like, I remember that first phone call, and I remember, like, there was anger at the same time as like just this like sadness that was so strongly there. And I just remember, like, I could tell that there was this strong woman who was crumbling. And I was like, I've been there. Like, I've been in that place myself where it was like, I was the one who took care of everybody else. And here I was crumbling and like crying, like, someone help me, help me, help me. And that's what I heard in your voice. And I was like, we can do this. Like, let's do this. And, for anyone who's listening, like, that's who we're used to working with, women who are strong and Elsa's successful in every other area of her life. This was the part that was holding you back.
And your willingness to feel the feelings, your willingness to like face your shit, like you said, and own it. without additional judgment and criticism, I would add, because that's just self-defeating. But yeah, great job.
And I think, just to add to what Stephanie was saying, is I think that's why I really resonated with her, because, you sit there and you think, it's like, how 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 did I allow that in my life? It's like, that's not me. And for me, the hardest thing was to admit to myself, I was a woman in a domestic abusive relationship. I was abused. It took me such a long time to accept that, because I was just like, no, that doesn't happen to women like me. Someone who's independent, someone who's educated, someone who has, who's, has taken care of herself the whole time, and for all account purposes, majority of my life, a lot of people describe me as like, you're such a bitch. You don't take shit from anyone, right? You're a leader. You're this, you're that. You're so outspoken. You don't ever hold back, which all those things were true in my relationship. It was very tit for tat, and I have to admit that even I became an abuser and aggressor, because it was reactive abuse on my part. But I became this person that I did not recognize. And I had to do a lot of soul searching and forgive myself for the person who I became when I was in survival mode, and I didn't like that person. And that was a whole other ball game too, because then I was like, well, am I the narcissist? It's like, I'm just as abusive as he is, is that why we're together, type of thing. But people do a lot of things when you're backed up into a corner. It's flight or fight. And I'd be damned if I was, if I didn't have a chance to run, and I was going to fight. And he knew that it's going to be you or me. And he knew that. And so, it was hard for me to accept the fact that I was abused, and I was a victim of domestic physical violence. Because
And this can happen.
Even my mother said, it's like, even my mother said, like, I can't even believe like the things I'm hearing you say, because she was just like, this is not the daughter that I know.
Yeah,
because,
she's a strong woman too, your mother.
Yeah, because people don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and a lot of times in these relationships, you feel so much shame that you don't talk about what's going on in your relationship, because everybody's going to tell you, why are you with them, dummy, right? And you're like, I don't know why I'm with them. But I can't leave, because trauma bonds are real. That's a whole other issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when you're the strong, independent woman, like, no, everything's fine. Like, let me just like cover that up. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Even though like we're dying inside, and like we're feeling like, oh, I'm dreading going home. I'm dreading seeing them. But it's like, it's all this facade that we're keeping up, and it's exhausting.
Right. And people stay for different reasons. I mean, my reasons were many. I was already invested 10 years with this person. This person was 10 years younger than I am, so I kind of had to face. It was the first person that I was with after my divorce, and my mom had so much to say about that, and I didn't want to be like, there's another failed relationship again, because at this point, all my relationships had failed, and so there was a lot of like fear of judgment from my family at that point in time, of like, no, that's like, I'm going to make this work. And a lot of stubbornness on my part. It was pride. A lot of it was pride. But a lot of it was hoping that we could always go back to what we had in the beginning, when the love bombing was going on, or every time we'd break up and we get back together, and it was those magical moments that, that would never last.
Oh yeah. It's, it's like the drug addict that wants to get that initial first high again. It's that same thing with these toxic relationships.
Chasing the dragon, right? And so, too, also a lot of people are resonating with what you're saying. We got a lot of great comments. So your story seems to definitely resonate as we suspected it would.
So
I was just going to say, and honestly, when I say you don't know what you don't know, because my ex, well, with time, I ended up finding out that he was an alcoholic. He has a huge alcohol problem, but he also likes to use illegal substances, and to self-medicate, or just to be high. I don't know. And so for the longest time, I just always thought, if he could just kick those habits, we'd be good, because I didn't know about narcissistic abuse or narcissistic traits. I didn't love bombing or all of that. I didn't know any of that. I just like, no, he's just an alcoholic. So if you could just stay on the wagon, we'd be all gravy. Oh no. No, it was so much more than all of that. And chemical dependency and addiction, that's just the symptom of this type of characteristic trait.
Well said.
Yeah, and
So
to any, and I'm sure that resonates. If that resonates for you, just write down me in the comments, because I think that a lot of people will feel that too. I mean, I remember my ex nodding off on the couch because he liked pills, and I was the same thing. If he could just stop the pills, then he won't be so angry anymore when he doesn't have them. And we make all the excuses for why, but there was much deeper issues, like you said. That was actually covering up some of the bigger issues that he was dealing with.
And then they try to guilt trip you by saying, like, everybody's always left me, you're the only one that's ever stuck around. And I just figured, I'm not gonna leave him. If he's, he has a good heart, he's just struggling. And I was going to AA meetings with him. I was, reading the big Al-Anon book or whatever that one book is from AA, for family members of alcoholics. And like, so I feel like I was doing all my part of, how do I best help someone who's struggling with an addiction?
You were doing all the work.
Right.
You were doing all the work.
Yeah, to try to make things work with this person who never had any intention of ever getting better. It was all just his excuses to keep me on the hook. That's all it was. And to somehow make it feel like my sobriety was my responsibility, or that, he wouldn't be able to stay sober without me. But, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that said me. So there's a lot of people that resonated for.
Yeah, for sure.
So what would you say is the biggest result from going through the program?
I think the biggest result is honestly getting back to those traumas that maybe you didn't even know you had, like healing that inner child. Like I said, issues that you don't even know that you had, and you don't know that you have them until you start working through the units, and that the way that the units are formatted and the questions that the units ask you, it's intense a lot of times. And I'm not someone that likes to journal or write things out or anything. But
Remember,
yeah.
I was like, I don't like to journal. I don't want to do.
Yeah. But here's why. Because growing up in my house, there was never a sense of privacy or respect. So if there was something that I didn't want anybody to know, I kept it inside. I didn't have a diary because I knew that if my parents ever saw my diary, they'd read it and then they'd beat my ass over everything that was written in it. So it's like I never had a safe place to express my deepest thoughts and feelings. I had to just bottle all of that, put up inside. And I think initially that was my fear, that if I write all this stuff out, someone's going to find it, or, whatever. But eventually I got the courage and I just started writing, because I was like, you know what? I'm halfway to 50. It's like, if I don't do this now, then it's never going to happen. And honestly, I don't care who reads it, because this is my truth. This is what I'm going through. This is my cry, my desperate cry for help, of trying to be like, I'm this wounded child, even though I'm halfway to 50, and my whole life I've been in relationships since the age of 18, long-term relationships that never worked out, but kind of always wondering, maybe it was the other person's fault, because, there's nothing wrong with me. But boy, when you work through those units, it's some heavy, tough pills to swallow. But you have to get honest with yourself, or else nothing's going to change. And a lot of it, I found out, it was issues with my mother, my father, and I guess issues with my father, because even though he was I had a dad, but he was always working nights. So basically, I grew up without a dad. He wasn't very involved, typical Mexican macho man. He thought his only goal was to provide financially for the family, but that was it. He was never there for me emotionally or otherwise. And so basically, my mom was the one that ended up raising us. But my mom is just as traumatized or worse than my dad. And both of my parents come from very abusive backgrounds, um, because that's just how they were raised, and I had to do a lot of forgiving my mom, that she did the best that she could with what she knew at the time. Um, but it didn't negate the fact that I felt like she failed me in a lot of places. But because of this program, me and my mom have been able to get to a place where we can have an open dialogue. And maybe in the beginning she was a little defensive, but I try not to, go at her in an aggressive way. It's just like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Can we talk about it? Blah 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 blah. It's like you don't have to agree, but I just respect me enough to just listen. And so I think it's helped our relationship a lot better. And then in turn, the outcome from that is that she's starting to realize that she has also been in an abusive relationship with my father this whole year. And it's interesting because from conversations that I have with her, she's gone and kind of had similar conversations with my two siblings, which are males, and both of them and are in very highly abusive relationships. So not only women get abused, it happens to men. And it breaks my heart, because men don't talk about stuff like that for the most part, and much less come and get help for it. But men get abused too, sometimes even worse than women.
Well, congratulations, Elsa, because you're doing the work to break the generational curse.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
so many of us,
Absolutely.
yeah, so many of us struggle with that, and it's a challenge. I mean, the world itself is challenging enough. Never mind being raised in a situation where your privacy isn't respected. You're not shown that love. You don't have the balanced influence of two healthy parents. And if I could, I just want to ask you about this because, of course, you and I had a really special connection within the group as well. And you talked about the challenges of the self-honesty, the challenges of pushing yourself and actually doing the work, going through the units, asking the tough questions. But one thing you touched on, which I think is really powerful, is the whole idea of not knowing what you don't know, and sort of that childhood wound. Could you kind of share a little bit of insight? Because obviously you and I had a real connection during our Psych K session. And do you feel like that was a factor in breaking through and having that healing at a deep level that you might not have been aware of? Or can you elaborate a little bit on your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And just thinking
smile.
back and thinking back to our session, I get really emotional because it was very powerful. Very powerful. I mean, because I think, I'm the oldest out of three. I'm the only girl. So our family is really enmeshed. And I just always thought I had a really close relationship to my mom. Um, but my whole life I was expected to be the golden child. I was expected, to be perfect, to obey all the rules and all of that. And I tried my darn hardest to do all of that, but somehow I I never got the recognition. I never got the pat on the back that you're doing a good job. I never got an I'm proud of you. And I told my mom not too long ago, it's like, Mom, every kid just wants to know that their parent is proud of them. And I said, and I feel like I bent over backwards for years trying to just tell me that you're proud of me. I said, but I never got that. I said, I just always felt like I would let you down and I was such a huge disappointment. And so there was a lot. I always say I had like a love-hate relationship with my mom, a lot of resentment. It's just I grew up in a very strict religious household, so that was another thing that was a big issue. um Extreme strict rules, and it was just like, Mom, I've done everything I could to show you that I'm trustworthy, that I'm responsible, and it's just like, even if I don't come at home at 10 o'clock at night, even though I'm freaking 28 years old, it's like I'm not doing anything bad, but during the Psych Cave session, the whole thing, when David was just like, just think of something with your mom and allow yourself to feel. I remember I cried for so long, and it was this primitive, primal, gut wrenching. I just say it was like I was howling, wailing, ugly, crying. And ugh. But you know what? I think maybe I feel now that that's what my soul needed, because to sometimes you can't even verbalize what you feel, but it's at such a cellular level. And all I was crying, and it was just like admitting I need my mama. I need my mom, and I love her, and I need my mom. And it was kind of like that abandoned little animal who just needed mom. And I think it doesn't matter how old you get, somehow you still always want to have a good relationship with your parents. And my family, we were not affectionate at all. In our family, we never said sorry, and saying sorry now is it's something that's difficult for me to say. We never heard the word "I love you" or "I'm proud of you," anything like that. And it taught me that it's like, I know how it made me feel when I was small, or even now as an adult. And it's like I wouldn't want anybody to feel that way. But after the psych cake session with David, I went and I it was the first time I had spoke to my mom, and it was the first time I had even hugged her in such a long time. And I just told her, Mom, I just need you to hug me. And we both cried. And it was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful moment. I've tried to hug her more often, but it's still kind of a little awkward. But I just feel like her and I are just like in a better place now, where, and again, I don't know if it has to do with like laying down boundaries, because it's like she knows I'm not, you start doing something that oversteps your boundaries or makes me feel some type of way, I just won't go over your house, and you won't see me, and you won't hear from me. And sometimes it's okay that you have to step back, because you don't need to take abuse. And even if it's not even anything related to me, I told her, like, when I come over, I don't want to hear about all the drama going on in the family, because my family's all drama. Right now, unfortunately, my youngest brother, who is a doctor, so again, he's a male, he's a doctor, and of all account person, he's a psychiatrist. He deals with people, who have mental issues. He is in an extremely abusive relationship with his fiance, or I guess his baby mama or whatever, because he called off the he took back the ring. But I mean, I see him and it completely breaks my heart. And that to me is kind of like, when I see that it's a generational thing that goes from generation to generation to generation, I am so hell bent on breaking those generational curses. If how some people say, that generational trauma. And it's just like, for me, that, like going through this course and everything, it's like I'm going to stay on this path. I'm going to continue to do the work. And the beauty of this work is that you can download the material and you can have it, and you can go back and do it as many times as you need to like get over those hurdles. So it's not like you have an 8-week program and it's like, all right, well, see ya, best of luck to you. No, you can download all that information, and it's yours to keep, to review, to go back as often as you need to work through those things. Because sometimes, in all transparency, a lot of stuff on through the units, I didn't even know how to do them, because I was just like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Like, what are your future goals? I don't know. What's this? I don't know. Because it's like, you don't know, because you don't even know who the hell you are anymore. You don't know who you are anymore. So a lot of those questions I didn't know how to answer. And I'd have to go back to them later and be like, okay, I think I have an idea. Or but that's the beauty about this course, is that you can always go back and when and work through the units, if you were stuck at some point, or you couldn't answer, or you didn't have an answer, you didn't know how to answer. Kind of like, for me, like, who's your support group? Nobody. Just this group, that's it. I had no support system. Well, who's a friend you can reach out? Nobody. I don't have any friends. I was isolated. you know but eventually, you work through the steps, and you work through all the steps, and you reach your end goal. And there isn't like a time frame that you need to be done, because everybody's healing is different, and healing is messy.
True.
But I always say, progress, regardless how small it is still progress, as long as you're moving forward. And honestly, when I see my family, especially my youngest brother, and it breaks my heart, I was just like, I got to stay the course. It's like, I got to show them it's possible, regardless of how long you've been in a relationship, regardless if you have children or not, regardless of X, Y, and Z, because you can make up all the excuses in the world to justify why you stay and why you don't change and why you stay stuck. but I want to show my brother it's possible. It's possible. Because all he's ever seen me do is do the back and forth. And now I want him to see, like, look, not only am I gone, I've stayed gone, but I'm healing myself. I'm not jumping back into other relationships. I'm working on me, and I'm enjoying my life and trying to discover who I am. And honestly, to be is just like, I am enough for me. I don't need anybody in my life, and I refuse to settle for anything less than what I deserve ever again. And it's all thanks to this program. It really is.
That's incredible stuff. And, like we talk about, of course, as much as we love to change other people, right, get them to behave better, we know that's not our role. Or at least as we begin to get this education and wider perspective, we start to understand that. But I think, as you described, Elsa, you have evidence of having done the work, having gotten down to those core issues, having the breakthrough, releasing all that repressed emotion, and finding your way. Granted, the program itself is holistic, it's comprehensive, it's broad in scope. But the important thing is that you took the pieces that were relevant to you as you needed them and made the progress. And even though this is you doing the hard work, it sounds like, even just for example, your relationship with your mom has improved.
They went on a trip after the program. I was like, like, we were in tears watching. We're like, this is such a big thing. Elsa's on a trip to Mexico with her mom. Like, that is huge.
For almost 3 months. With my mom. And I'm forever grateful for that, because this is how messed up I was, people. Like for the first 2 months, I literally, I'm not even exaggerating, laid up on a couch. At that time, I think I was working 2 days a week. I was laid up on the couch. I couldn't even shower.
Mm-hmm.
I did not eat. And then when I tell you, just the act of breathing itself was exhausting. And I would just sit there and just listen to YouTube videos on what narcissism was. I'd listen to the lives. And honestly, in the beginning, I couldn't even do the units. I would try to get through the accountability sheet, because I couldn't. Like, I physically had no energy. When I say I was a walking corpse or a zombie, I was. Like, I couldn't. And but I would stay plugged in. I would do the lives and stuff like that. And eventually, you start getting your bearings. And with the help of everybody and just listening to everybody's progress, you start getting your bearings. And eventually you get to the place where you feel like you can do the work. But it's important to do the work, no matter how painful it is. And you have to be honest with yourself. There's no sugarcoating anything, because if you're going to sugarcoat it or minimize, then it's not going to help you any. And it's like not even worth your investment. You have to get honest with yourself.
So true.
What are you most excited moving forward from here?
Well, I'm really excited about everything, honestly. I'm just excited about, just from a year ago. Honestly, my 1 year anniversary of being single was just August the 18th. So I'm really, really just out of a year. And when that time came, I was starting to have feelings, a lot of conflicting feelings, because healing is messy, feeling a sense of grief, just a lot of things. For a while, I even was thinking, well, maybe he's not a narcissist, and your mind wants to play tricks and wants to hang on to like all the good stuff. But then it was just like, no. But then also what I learned, like from my sessions with David, was to allow myself to feel my feelings. Because when I say a zombie, I was a zombie in every sense, like emotionally, especially even during the whole time when I was with my guy, with the narcissist, because you learn how to suppress your feelings. You like, stop crying, you're too sensitive, or the gaslighting, all of that. It's like you have no validation for what you feel. So you shut that down. And the only feelings I had were anger and frustration and resentment. I didn't have any good feelings about anything, and I could not cry. And that was my biggest emotional barrier to overcome. And I owe all of that, honestly, I think, to the Psych K sessions with David, because I hadn't cried probably in over 7 years after a certain incident that happened with him. And I was like, I will never cry over you or about you ever again in my life. And I'm a Pisces. So, we're like the biggest crybabies. We're emotional. We feel things deeply. I mean, we can feel our feelings, but I was so dead inside that I couldn't. And I would lean into it and kind of almost do like a psychic session on myself to just like, okay, these are the feelings that are coming up, pinpointing them and walk myself through them mentally. And it's just like, it's okay. It's okay to sit with your feelings, feel your feelings, cry it out, learn when you're ready. Okay, let it go, so because it's important to validate what your feelings are real. When you've
Mhm.
been gaslighted for so many years and telling basically like what your opinions, your feelings, whatever, doesn't matter. It's important to learn how to validate that. And psychic was such a huge turning point for me in that regard.
And Elsa, I just want to say, in all sincerity and for the record, and I think I've sort of shared my feelings with you on this before. I consider it such an honor and a privilege to have been able to share that space and hold that space for you and with you. I so admire your courage. A little emotional myself because it was obviously respect for Elsa. Like I won't go into the details of the session, but it was just so powerful. I really admire your courage and willingness to be vulnerable, and it just speaks so much to the depth and capacity of your heart. And I love all of our inner circle members and have high hopes. But obviously, as a facilitator, I've got to have no agenda. Come in, just hold the space for you to do the work, because that's the thing. Psych K is a set of information and tools, the ability to access our subconscious, the source of our habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that have kept us driving down the wrong road for so long. But I can promise you, Elsa, it's a session and experience I will never forget, because it's moving. And again, there's like this gravity and energy around the negativity as it comes up and through. But what, of course, inspires me and makes me the happiest, the most joyful, is to look at your life now and see how much of an adventure it is. You absolutely radiate, even right now, like this powerful love and joy. And like you said it perfectly, it's not like you're a blissed out guru and everything's perfect. Life still comes at you, feelings come at you, but now you witness them like waves on the ocean. They come and go. They don't keep you stuck. They don't keep you small and fearful and quiet. And so I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me and for us to share in that journey with you, because I'm not kidding. It's so powerful. And again, your story is incredible, but we see these types of results all the time with people moving through stuff that's kept them stuck for so long. So thank
And
you.
just to add a little bit more to the testament of the power of Psych K and the session that we had, I'm involved in various hiking groups, but I'm actually a moderator for a local hiking group that I'm in here in my city. And you know, people gravitate to me. And I've gotten so many private messages and even messages in the group. And it's not to like toot my own horn or anything, but this is just to show you what healing looks like and what it can do for other people, because of your energy and your vibe and everything, of getting rid of all of that shit and all that negativity and all of that, to like truly heal your inner child and your heart. And I'm not going to say to be who you were, because who you were doesn't exist anymore. You're not that person. This is to evolve into a newer, higher elevated sense of self.
So true.
And my biggest compliment to the work that I've done, which has been very difficult, but it's when people come to me and say, we love being around you. You just exude so much beautifulness. You have such a beautiful soul and your positive energy, and you always make people want to be around you, and you make people feel included, and you make people feel special. And I get these beautiful compliments all the time, and I just have to turn around and just thank the universe, thank creator, thank God, thank whoever it was that somehow aligned my life to come in contact with Stephanie and David and this program, because if it, I know I wouldn't be this person on my own. I mean, because I tried to do a lot of stuff on my own, a lot of healing on my own, read all the help books. I was in therapy for a while, for anxiety and depression, but we didn't touch about the core things like, why am I like that? It was just like, oh, you're stinking thinking. Well, it ain't stinking thinking. It's a root issue. It's a soul issue, is what it is. It's a heart issue, and it's really uprooting those things. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable and to be truthful with yourself.
That's
And
it.
because if you lie, it's not going to work. I mean, and Stephanie and David aren't here to press judgment, but they will hold you accountable. And sometimes you might not like the way that they say it because they don't sit there and freaking sugarcoat it. I mean, but come on, and they're running a business and they're dealing with a bunch of people. They can't sit there and tiptoe over your feelings, so they're gonna come to you straight. So you got to know how to be like, oh, they hurt my feelings. No, like you they want you to succeed. So that's one thing you have to understand too, is like, they're not here to coddle anybody. They might sympathize, but it's not coddling. If you're ready to do the work, strap on your boots and roll up your sleeves and get in there.
So true. I hope everyone's leaning in. I mean, this is really fantastic. Thank you so much, Elsa.
What would you tell anyone who's on the fence where they're like, I don't know still. Is this for me? Is it possible for someone like me to heal?
Is this a worthwhile investment in myself, my time?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're always going to find excuses to why you're not going to do it. I mean, I know I try to talk myself out of it, and then I was feeling bad about it for a while because I was just like, oh my God, it's like the, money wise, and, it was like during the whole COVID thing. And like I said, at that time, I was only working like 2 days a week. But you know what? If I could do it again, I totally would, because if you don't, what's going to change? It's like what Stephanie says, like, what's going to change? You're going to keep doing what you've always been doing. And how has that been working out for you? Like, how many more years are you going to be doing the same thing? Like I told you, like, I'm halfway to 50. I don't want to spend another 10 years, another 4. I don't want to spend another 6 months in a meaningless relationship. And it's just like, oh, damn, well, I don't work out. It's like, when is it going to stop? But then I think even the bigger thing is just like, you know what? I'm so good not being in a relationship. Honestly, right now where I'm at, I'm having so much fun in my life, meeting so many interesting people, having amazing experiences that I never thought in a million years that I would have. That maybe I don't think I would ever, at this point in time, I don't know if I want to be in a relationship. But here's the thing, because I've only been in unhealthy and toxic and abusive relationships, I don't know what healthy is. I'm still discovering what healthy is. And I see David and Stephanie, and I was like, they are an example that it's possible. So if it was possible for them when they sat there and did the work, then I know it's also possible for me, and that there has to be healthy people out there. But one thing, it's like, I will never settle for anything less than what I am worthy of, even if it means that I will be single for the rest of my life, because you know what? I love my life, and it's all gravy. I'm good with that.
That's a beautiful thing. And one of the things that I recognized after doing the work too is that when you become emotionally self-reliant, even if you don't have all the answers, right? Even if you don't have everything figured out, you are able to fulfill the majority of your own needs. And look, we're social beings. We're meant to come together as beings. But like you said it perfectly, you do the work and get to a place where you're not at risk of drinking the poison. You're not at risk of settling for less than you deserve. And Stephanie told me, and I don't claim to be, God's gift to women, but she told me, like, when we met, and I had this interesting sense, a literal pulling sensation
I was in a similar position as Elsa is now, just so to forewarn you that maybe something's coming, because I was like, I'll be single forever. I don't care.
Well, she told me straight up. She's like, look, I just want to be upfront with you. Like, I'm dating another guy. He's also an amazing guy, but I just want to let you know, like, I'm so happy being single. It's going to take someone pretty amazing to change that. Now, I won't testify on her behalf, but I'll say for myself, I was in a space where I was free and dating and enjoying the process, not settling. But long story short, it was sometime before she and I met, and she did the same exercise, unbeknownst to one another, where we actually wrote down a list, a checklist of all our must-haves, our non-negotiables in relationships. Luckily for me, I don't say lucky, but it's because I did the work and was able to attract healthier things into my life, healthier patterns. I found a woman who not only checked off every box on my list, but actually added a whole bunch of things that I didn't even realize I would enjoy, admire, and appreciate. So yeah, I'm not a matchmaker. I'm not a fortune teller or anything like that. But the guy who comes around is going to not only be like next level, top shelf kind of guy, I'm willing to bet.
Oh yeah.
But also he's going to be so grateful that you did the work, and that you became who you are as a result of healing. Because it brings a depth of passion and connection to the relationship that you can't have when you're just living life skating on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I just want to say too, when I say like I've been single, like celibate single. And I know that might be a personal decision for everybody, but for me, it was also important. It is important, while I'm working on my healing process. Because I think when we get physically involved with other people, I think at an underlying level, that's also because we're trying to fill some type of void or some type of discomfort within us also. I don't know, that's just my opinion on that, but it's like I felt like if I became sexually involved with someone else, that was going to set me back in my healing process, because once, and then I don't know, maybe because I'm a Pisces, I've been told a lot of times that I don't know how to have sex with someone without getting attached. I don't understand how people do that, but that's for a topic for another day, because you transfer energies with people and stuff like that. And as women, we tend to get attached, whether we like to admit it or not, and I felt like, well, I can't do that because I can't have anything clouding my judgment, my space, my energy right now, because right now it's all about me and I have to work on me. So although I have a lot of male companion friends that I go out with and have a lot of fun with, I'm not romantically involved with any of them, and I'm not sexually involved with any of them, because I want to hold out to be healthy in all aspects of my life, so that when the time comes, if it comes, I'm ready to go.
I love it.
It's
I
beautiful.
love it.
It really is.
Well, I know I'm gonna see if you want to stick around for a few more minutes. We are past time. But hopefully this resonated for everybody. And it's always wonderful having, I love when I get to be the first person to meet all of our clients, so I get the very first initiation to that person, and then to watch them blossom is why we do this. Like, it's so, I like to just see you succeed and to see you living your life and out there having such a great time is why, why we do this. And so anybody who's watching this right now and is thinking, I've been trying to do it on my own, I'm tired of wasting time. If you resonate with Elsa's story, please comment the word power in the comments, and someone from our team will reach out to you. There's no reason for you to try doing this on your own. I couldn't have done it on my own. Like Elsa said, she couldn't have done it on her own. And, we're here for you to help you. And, let's get this done sooner rather than later. So let's get you into living that best life now instead of waiting for some other time for that to happen.
Yeah. And guys, let's everyone give some love and applause to Elsa.
Yes.
Like, showing up in spectacular fashion as always. And again, to echo what Steph said, really such a genuine pleasure and a privilege to be able to catch some of your light. Because like, you got to understand too, like, this isn't a hobby. This isn't something we set out to do as a business. We do it because we're passionate about sharing the tools with others to find their freedom, to find their joy, to find their peace, to find their love. And so we gain just as much, if not more, as you do from working with us. So thank you. We got a lot of love for Elsa coming up in the comments.
Now, I know we're past time. And Elsa, would you be willing, like if somebody had maybe a question, we can't take a bunch because we're already past time.
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely. I'm here at your service, because this is how passionate I feel about this program and for everything that I've managed to be because of this program, and even the tools that I've learned. Like, even in my personal Facebook page, I mean, I talk about abuse and recovery so much, and so many people that I know have, messaged me and have thanked me. Thank you for sharing your story, like this and that. And I refer them to Stephanie and David all the time. Like, look, well, this is why I'm how I am now. This is what worked for me. And I'm just so indebted and forever grateful that I was able to be a part of your program, and how what a difference it's made in my life. And I think it's a gift that keeps on giving, because once you have knowledge, knowledge is power, and you can impart that knowledge to other people and help them too. Maybe you'll be that stepping stone for someone to open up to you and tell you about their issues. And again, you can refer them to this group and how it's helped
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. Well, I was perusing the comments, and there's, again, a lot of love and appreciation for you. Also, a lot of people have really resonated with your story. And there was one question that came through earlier. I can't say exactly who it was from, but you shared obviously how you related to Stephanie, being a strong woman in all these different aspects of your life, but having the difficulty and to a degree communicating how that strength carried you even through the hell you were going through to make the decision to take action to make your life better. But the question came through, which I would love for you to speak on if you have thoughts on it. What if you are not a strong woman? Because again, whether you're someone in your position who had all these other things together, passionate, fiery soul and heart, someone like Stephanie who did the work to be an accomplished professional and had so many other areas of her life together. Like some people think like, oh, you've got to have some kind of inherent strength. So,
well, I'm going to let Elsa answer this, but like, I didn't feel strong when I started all this. So
that's exactly it. To the outside world, you might appear strong, but honey, let me tell you, if we really felt that and believed that about ourselves, we wouldn't be in the relationships that we're in. We wouldn't attract the people that we're attracted to and put up with the shit that we put up with. So obviously, we weren't strong. We appeared that, to the outside world on paper, we were the golden ticket, but within ourselves, we weren't strong. And honestly, I stayed with this person for 10 years through the worst of things that you could think of. And I hate to say that my breaking point, and he knew it, was like, if you ever cheat on me, that's it. But it's just like, what kind of boundary is that? It's like, you've hit me, you've spit at me, you've called me names, you've insulted me, you've lied to me, you've done you've endangered my life by doing criminal shit in my house. It's like, how were none of those things enough of a reason for me to leave? Why was my end goal so low of saying like, but if you cheat on me, then that's the deal breaker? Because I didn't feel strong within myself. And I thought that because I pushed back and I gave back and I would sit and yell and scream and cuss him out and break up with him every other day and twice on Sundays, that made me strong. But like my mom says, oh, he already knows your game. He just lets you cool down for 2 weeks and then he comes back, and there you go, taking him back again. So it's just like, no, honestly, we weren't strong. To the outside world, we were strong, but we weren't strong. But let me tell you though, when that decision came, like I told you, I was so defeated. I had no fight in me. I had none. Like he had sucked my soul, my life, my energy. He sucked it all out. And with narcissistic relationships, that's what they tell you. Like when you're no longer of use to them, because you don't give them any more fuel, because they basically taken it all, they move on to someone else. So he had moved on to someone else. But it was that little point in time, like he was ready to leave me anyway. But I had the last say and be like, get the hell out of my house. But that's what like sparked in me. And who knows, if it wasn't for Stephanie and David, I very well might have taken them back within those first 6 months that we were together. I don't know.
Well, thank God you didn't.
Yeah.
And that's really insightful too. And again, I think that's a great answer. Do we have time for one more?
I think we've got to.
We got to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, because Glennis asked, and Glennis asked, how many psych case sessions did you have before things started getting better? We obviously, you were part of the inner. I mean, of course, bear in mind.
We had a total of two, but after that first one, it was just like night and day. And it wasn't like you have to wait days or out or weeks. No, for me it was almost instantaneous, that burden of being lifted, of just, it was cathartic. Like it just like bleh, like from the depths of my soul. That's really what it felt like to me. Like I was just like bleh, vomiting all of this stuff that I had been carrying for years, and it was instantaneous. But I don't know, everybody's experience could be different.
It's true, and I'll add on to that, because again, the psyche is just the tools. It's what you do with them. And again, your points about being honest with yourself, being willing to do the work, getting to a point where you got leverage on yourself, you were fed up, and again, however much you're willing and able, and it's safe and appropriate to shed, is what will come out of that. But thank you for answering that as well.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for sticking on. We know this is a little bit of a
it's been long,
session,
but this was a good one.
Yeah, it was really good. And I'll just throw out there again, if this story resonated for you, please comment the word power in the comments, and someone from our team will reach out to you. Now is the time to create that best life, because if you don't start making a change now, then when is going to ever be the right time to start working on yourself? And I'll tell you right now, we don't have time to waste. None of us know how long we have. I mean, let's be realistic. I don't care how old you are. Now is the time to start creating your best life for your future. So that way you can actually, when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what life is. Like, we don't have to waste any more time feeling like crap all the time. And, you get to have fun adventures. I mean, I'm living through Elsa's fun adventures of all the fun trips that she's doing.
While we're wrangling toddlers at home and
exactly.
checking out your landscapes, like, oh man.
But I remember that feeling, and because I love to travel too. That's like one of my favorite things in the world. So, I love watching it, and again, watching from where you were and where you are now. And so thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey and to help you through. And thank you for sharing with everyone in the group about how you have overcome so much. And if anybody, again, you're watching this as a replay, please still comment as if you're watching it live. If you need to tag any of us, and is it okay if they would tag you too if they have a question? Okay, so tag Elsa if you have a question, and you feel free to, ask us any questions, and we will answer them. And, never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. You just need the right support.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.